St. Petersburg, Florida is absolutely booming, and a lot of people looking to relocate to the Tampa Bay area are considering St. Pete even more so than Tampa in recent years. And with that being said, an area right here called Parrish has really blown up as one of the #1 suburbs in the Tampa Bay area and one of the best locations and best suburbs for St. Petersburg in general. And so in this video, we're really breaking down St. Petersburg versus Parrish. A big part of why I'm making this video is because we are helping a client right now move from St. Petersburg to Parrish, and she was in a 1920s old historic home in St. Petersburg, and now she's moving to a brand new construction home in a master plan community. And after talking to her and another client, one of her neighbors that we helped move to the area a year ago, it is truly evident to me that the process could not be more different. You're literally going from buying mostly historic homes in super walkable neighborhoods in the heart of a city that is literally shaped like a grid, from here all the way to master plan communities that are laid out like this, where there's new and old and cow pastures, and it's not walkable at all, but then at the same time there are all these trails that you hear about. And so it is just a lot to navigate. And on one end, you really want to be careful with your home inspections and your insurance, because 1920s old homes are going to have really high insurance rates and just in general need a lot of maintenance. And then on the other end, you're having to navigate CDDs and HOAs, which is like, what the heck is a CDD? And so my point is that there are a lot of things that we have to go through in this video. And so this is going to be a more in-depth video. Okay, so we're going to start this video by first talking about the lifestyle differences you get in Parrish versus St. Pete. And I really want to start this by just highlighting too how close Parrish is to St. Petersburg, because a lot of what a Parrish lifestyle revolves around is being less than an hour away from places like downtown St. Pete, Anna Maria Island, and St. Pete Beach. Now, if you're commuting into downtown St. Pete, which may or may not be the case, you might be commuting to Tampa, but if you are during rush hour, which is what it is right now, 4:30, you can expect it to take 47 minutes to get to downtown St. Pete. And I just say this because this is a factor, especially because you only have the one way to really get into St. Pete, the one bridge. Now, normally, like really any other time, this is going to take roughly 30 minutes. The same goes for going to St. Pete Beach. And with Tampa, well, I'll put that in for you guys so we can see what that is, because I actually do not know. Okay, so Tampa, we've got 40 minutes, so maybe 10 minutes more than what we're looking at St. Pete, but honestly about the same, a little bit more when it comes to rush hour, because a lot of folks living in the Parrish area are commuting to Tampa. When it comes to making a decision about Parrish versus St. Petersburg and the Parrish lifestyle versus the St. Petersburg lifestyle, what you really want to think about is amenities versus city, because in Parrish, the lifestyle you get in Parrish is going to be revolved around a lot of what these master communities have to offer. But when it comes to deciding if Parrish is the right fit versus St. Pete, you're still close to things like the beach. You're driving distance to things like the beach. You've got a lot going on near you. You're driving distance to those things. In your community, now you may want to prioritize nearby, okay, in terms of my lifestyle within the community, being near walking trails, being near biking trails, if that's still a priority for you, but you don't necessarily need to be in downtown St. Pete to still be able to bike, still be able to walk. It's still walkable out here. It just looks a little different than what it looks like in downtown St. Pete. My name is Aaron, and me and my wife Aubrey are realtors here in Tampa Bay. And if you are thinking about making a move to the Tampa Bay area, then we would love to earn your business. And what's really exciting is actually just recently we rolled this out, but we have a website where you can go and book a call. So definitely check that out. I'll put the QR code on the screen. You can scan it. It's mobile friendly. And yeah, you can go on there, book a call if you are looking to move now or in a couple years or whenever. We love talking to folks looking to relocate to Tampa Bay and would love to hear from you. Okay, when it comes to understanding St. Petersburg, really the way I like to explain it to folks that are new to looking at the map of St. Petersburg is I like to show them Central Avenue, which you can actually see like the businesses along Central Avenue. And that's kind of the main road that divides everything that's First Avenue North is going to be north of this, and everything that's Avenue South is going to be south of this. So it's a really easy way to base yourself and kind of familiarize yourself with the city. So that's your main north to south road. My main east to west road is 4th Street, and 4th Street kind of goes, and really the reason I kind of focus on the north side is because on this south side there's not really anywhere to drive to. If you're living in St. Pete, you're still going to be driving to places like Tampa, you're still going to be driving to places like St. Pete Beach, you're going to be driving from Tampa to St. Pete if you're living in Tampa. So 4th Street sees a lot more action, and really the north side of Central is generally where I find myself spending a lot of time unless I'm going out to Gulfport or the beach. But that being said, 4th Street, located right here, is the main road for my, east to west, kind of my differentiator when I'm in the downtown area. There's other east to west differentiators. I'd say Central Avenue is a better overall, how do I familiarize myself with St. Pete? But there are a lot of businesses on Central Avenue, and there are a lot of businesses on 4th Street, and then there's also a ton on MLK. But for the purpose of this video, for your sake, locating yourself near 4th Street and near Central Avenue is generally going to result in you being in a more walkable area, in the sense that the density of being near more walkable things is significantly higher here in and around downtown. That being said, along Central Avenue, it's great. It gets significantly less walkable the further west you go, but also really great bike ride, really great to take the Sunrunner. We tried the Sunrunner. It's okay, actually, to be honest. You probably aren't going to find yourself taking it. I've only taken it once, and that was just to show you guys in a video. But this area sees a lot of traffic, and it's just an easy way to familiarize yourself when it comes to the city. You don't really see yourself spending much time down here unless it's work related or you're going for a specific thing. But that being said, Boyd Hill Nature Preserve, beautiful. Sawgrass Lake Park, highest likelihood chance of seeing alligators really in the Tampa Bay area. So beautiful nature stuff to do in and around St. Pete. You have Crescent Lake Park. Downtown is overall super walkable. The Edge District itself is beautiful. And I like to show this in a lot of my videos because really, guys, familiarizing yourself around Central is kind of what makes St. Pete very appealing as well, because it's like, okay, it's a lot easier to understand what and navigate this new city that I'm moving to, because everything is kind of based around this one main street that has all the businesses on it. Another thing I want to point out about St. Pete is a big reason people love St. Pete, especially when it comes to St. Pete versus Tampa, is that St. Pete very much is close to the beach, and not just any beach, but nice beaches like St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island, the Don Cesar, which is a famous hotel located right here, is a really cool landmark that people love to talk about. But there's also some really great hidden beaches like Pass-a-Grille Beach, which is one of my favorites. I love Pass-a-Grille Beach, specifically this restaurant here, Pass-a-Grille. This is an awesome spot. It's kind of a hidden local spot, which is why I like to recommend it to our relocation buyers. And then also, Fort DeSoto is another really great hidden gem because this is a state park. It's just beautiful. Sometimes I really think I'm in the Keys when I'm walking around at Fort DeSoto. It is truly stunning. Like, I'll drop a pin in here so you guys can see just what it's like. Like the water here, guys. This I don't know why this photo doesn't look very good, but the water is beautiful. It is stunning, and I love it. Now, that being said, even if you are in Parrish, you can take advantage of some great options, because you can take advantage of all of St. Pete's beaches, but you can also take advantage of all of Bradenton and Sarasota's beaches, which, for those of you that don't know, guys, Siesta Beach is a truly one-of-a-kind beach. I mean, it is like it is a beach you've definitely got to check out, even if you do end up in St. Pete or you do end up anywhere else in Tampa. But the nice part about being in Parrish and areas like Lakewood Ranch and really where I think these places shine way over North Tampa and Wesley Chapel, Zephyr Hills, and Dade City is they actually are close to some of these white sand beaches that people love seeing when it comes to that Florida lifestyle. Up here along the coast, it's all like it's not white sand beaches. I don't know what it is, if it's Everglades or bayous or whatever it is, mangroves, but it's not white sand beaches. These are all the things to keep in mind when it comes to the lifestyle of Parrish versus St. Pete, and Aubrey is going to talk a bit more about this, so I won't take away any more from her.
All right, so I'm here in St. Pete in the Edge District on Central Ave, and why I wanted to bring you guys here is because I wanted to show you just how many options there are when it comes to food. This is a spot that you need to know about if you choose St. Pete or Parrish. For example, our past customers, Jesse and Linda, they used to live in downtown St. Pete, and they actually decided to make the move to Parrish, but they still come here so frequently to get food here because there's just so many options. So it's a spot that you need to know about if you're living in either Parrish or St. Pete. And so that's why I wanted to bring you here to kind of give you a good visual of what it actually looks like here.
Generally, most people are going to gravitate towards St. Petersburg just because it's nice living downtown. There's more to do. It's nice living near downtown. It's nice living near the beach. It's nice being near the city, unless really being in a master plan community is you. A lot of people that are kind of in the decision of, do I choose St. Petersburg or Parrish? If you are in that decision, then likely you're probably leaning towards St. Petersburg because of that factor. But what makes Parrish so incredibly tempting are the prices and practicality, and I'll show you guys a bit of what I mean by that. So I pulled up all the recent sales that we've had in St. Pete, but I specifically wanted to pull up the properties that sold quickly, like within 0 to 14 days, because that shows me where the overall demand is. That being said, when I look at what the buyers in St. Petersburg are looking at, they're nice homes. You know, here's this one for $546, sold in 3 days, so very quickly. But it's a nice, well-maintained home. It's got potential for multiple reasons. Wood floors. It's got some really unique character. Very mid-century. I actually really love this home. I totally wish I knew this home was on the market because I would have gone and looked at it. But yeah, this home has stunning, irreplaceable, unique character. It's not in a flood zone. Like, this is a really good option for people within that 500,000 to 600,000. But that being said, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's 1,794 square feet. And it's in an area that's not going to be necessarily that walkable. Like, you're still going to likely need a car for most things. You're not like over here in Kenwood where you can get away with, without needing a car for most things, at least most of the things to do things. But generally, you always need a car in Tampa Bay. Here, 2850 Dartmouth Avenue. We actually looked at this home in another video when I think it was active, but this one's significantly smaller, 580, 1,000 square feet. Here's like another one, 510, 1,000 square feet again. But beautiful homes, unique character, and this is kind of the point I want to make. But simultaneously, guys, there's just not enough space. And for a lot of people, like the lifestyle of St. Petersburg, the lifestyle of downtown St. Petersburg, the lifestyle of the beach, and all these things are really, really appealing, but the prices just do not make sense. And I can't even really look at the sold. I really need to look at the active so I can really show you guys just the sheer amount of inventory here in the Parrish area. Guys, just look at this. Just look at this is just how many available listings there are here. And what's interesting is you have a variety of options. So you have newly, freshly built options, and then you have options where it's straight up with the builder. And so going over these options, I want to talk about this like in person and show you guys on the ground. So I know I'm going to go over this, or I've already gone over this with you guys, but I think what I really want to show you guys from a map perspective is just look at all the growth that there is, to potentially have done in Parrish. And this is a pro and a con when it comes to deciding to buy in Parrish. If you are thinking about deciding to buy in Parrish, you definitely should, start to ask yourself questions about at least how long do you plan on being there, or how long do you plan on holding that property. Because in Parrish, when in Florida in general, wherever there are a lot of builders building, if you have a newer property, you just got to know that you're going up against those brand new home builders with your slightly older property. And the buyers always want the property where they're the first people to sit on the toilet seat. Something about it, it just really matters. And so when you're going to market that home, if you are having to market a model that the builder is building nearby that they are also offering, there is pretty much no shot at touching the builder's prices, especially given that the builders are just offering crazy incentives. And so that's just something to keep in mind, that as long as the builders are building nearby, the buyers are just always going to prefer brand new. And this really plays out in like this community here, Artisan Lakes, which was built by Taylor Morrison, and they're done now. Now they are building just north of here in Costa. And this is a new community that they just kind of started building here, Palms at Costa, Taylor Morrison, but they've got listings here listed for $487. It's a March completion. I wonder if they have any incentives on it, but $487, anyhow, $487, 2,600 square feet, Taylor Morrison home, brand new. You go down here, I bet you we can find another one. Here, this one, I think this is like similar, but this is $494. They've been on 102 days on the market, built in 2021, 2,600 square feet. It's just going to be really hard to list homes, especially when the builders are building very similar done models. That being said, there are still buyers that do prefer this, and we're actually working with one right now, because for a lot of people, and I totally get it, because and I'll probably show this, maybe I can show this in the video too, but when I drive up here north of Buckeye Road and go into Palms of Costa, it looks completely barren. Like it's just, there's a couple houses up, that is it. And that's a big factor, especially if, for you're looking to prioritize a lifestyle. And so for you, being in a established community where everything is done and you don't feel like you're dealing with construction, or you're in a brand new spot, or it feels like too dystopian because all the plants are like babies and the same height, and there's like freakishly no shade, no established trees, like that can feel really eerie for a lot of people. And so being in, or knowing that there are options in Parrish that aren't brand new, but are actually in super established communities like Artisan Lakes, is a good thing for you to know, especially as you're weighing out the pros and cons of this decision. Now, that being said, I'm sure I'll go over it more in the video, in person. But again, guys, the builder incentives when it comes to all the builders, like just look guys, how much construction is going on in Parrish. All these builders are competing with each other, and they all want you to buy their product over their competitor's product. And so when you go in to see these builders, they're all going to make it sound like they have the best product in the world. There is nothing like their home. But I can guarantee you guys, I have done this with so many people over the years. There are pros and cons with each of these builders. Some of them have amazing layouts. Some of them have amazing high-end finishes, but they are all different. There's pros and cons between all of them, and there's pros and cons even community to community. Anyhow, that's all I wanted to really talk about when it comes from the map perspective of what to expect when it comes to homes and home prices in St. Pete versus Parrish. But really, for a lot of people, where this decision also plays in a huge amount is when you're balancing CDDs and HOAs versus flood zones. And so with the CDDs and HOAs, so for a lot of people, they are choosing Parrish because they want to get away from the flood zones, and they've heard all kinds of horror stories when it comes to flood insurance and just flood zones and old homes in general. And so we've done this in other videos. But really, guys, here's where the flood zone map is huge, because if you are in flood zone X, which is the orange portion of St. Pete here, guys, this is in a zone, a flood zone that is such low risk that your lender is not going to require you to carry flood insurance. And so that basically sums it up right there. Now, that being said, a good amount of St. Petersburg is in a flood zone, and so a lot of like the things you'll hear about online, or the videos you'll see of all these flooded homes, is to do in those lower areas where there is a lot more flooding. Now, in Parrish, what is pretty dang cool is a lot of Parrish is just naturally in flood zone X, but in the portions where you see the community does go through a flood zone, and really there's a video on YouTube about this, but the way the builders are building these communities now really is optimized so that they can divert the flood water using the canals that they're putting in here. They really are designing it well, with keeping in mind with future planning and future flooding. And so with that being said, if you are worried about hurricanes and flood insurance and all that, Parrish has great options. All the homes come with metal hurricane shutters, but then you can also get the upgrades where like they have like the electric hurricane shutters. But again, guys, even to do all that, like you don't necessarily need to even do all that. It depends on what you're worried about, really. There's no black or white way to answer this question. So I won't really answer it. I'll get on with the video because I am blabbering. But anyhow, enough said there. We're here in Sea Air, which is a lagoon community. So this is a good one for you guys to get a feel for, you know, what a potential option would be for around that $500,000 range in a community that has great amenities. And so we're going to look at the Holden model. And another reason, guys, I wanted to show you this model is because the Holden model is actually popular throughout all of Tampa Bay. So this is just a great one in general. And this might be this might be the most functional model I know of. Like, it's great for families and all that, but let's go on in so that you guys can see what we're talking about. So this is the Tradition series, which they were telling me a bit about that and how that's different from the Express, I think it's called. And so with the Tradition, things are a bit higher end in terms of like you have the higher ceilings, and with D.R. Horton in this community specifically, what you see is what you get. So let's first start by showing you guys here. And D.R. Horton is another builder that they do block on both the first floor and the second floor. And what I love about this layout is where their office is, that would traditionally be your garage. And so you have this natural pass through and then this catch-all here, which I think is just super practical. A super practical location to have a second entrance off the home going right into the kitchen. And then they have a forward office up there. But what I really want to show you guys is upstairs, because this layout is going to be really great for a lot of families, because, and a lot of families and a lot of our relocation buyers specifically love this layout because of this, just the practicality of the upstairs, downstairs. You have one living room downstairs and you have a living room upstairs. And you have just the perfect split floor plan in the sense that you have bedrooms on this side. So you have two bedrooms on this side with a shared bathroom. Then you have this massive kind of joined living space. And then the primary bedroom is massive as well. And then they have this section right here to the side, which can totally double as, like, I would make this my office. You can make it a reading room. You could put a crib in here. Like, it's very, very practical. And then I'm out of breath. You got this massive closet here, the washer dryer, and this passes through to the other side of the house where you've got two more massive bedrooms as well. And so that is why people love this layout, and that's why a lot of people are considering Parrish when it comes to St. Pete versus Parrish, because for $500,000, you are not getting this square footage in St. Petersburg. And that's really what I wanted to show you guys today. With this layout, this is a very practical layout. This one, they have ones around that $500,000 range. Depending on if you are on a private lot or not, the price might fluctuate a bit, but what you see is what you get, and it's pretty high end from the get-go, which is nice. Final thing I want to talk about when it comes to St. Petersburg versus Parrish is it's really hard to pass up with the incentives that the builders are offering. For instance, here in this community, they're offering 3.99% fixed interest rates when you work with their builder. And in addition to that, they're also giving you $20,000 to use as flex cash towards any last minute upgrades or your closing costs, which is pretty much all your closing costs taken care of. So that really makes it hard to pass up Parrish, especially when you're considering St. Petersburg. But the good news is that, again, guys, this is 20 to 30 minutes from St. Petersburg, so you can still take advantage of all the things that St. Petersburg has. You're in a much bigger home, and the amenities in a community like this are absolutely insane. So that's what we're gonna go show you guys next, is where the Lagoon Center will be. Okay, so we hope that video was helpful. We're standing here at Sea Air because we just wanna show you that the lagoon is going to be placed here, and it's gonna be this whole parking lot area is going to be the lagoon. And so we just want to point that out. But yeah, that's kind of all we have for this video.
Yeah, I'd say the main thing that we wanted to highlight in comparison to Parrish and St. Pete is really when you're looking at Parrish, you want to look at the community itself and all that it has to offer, because in a suburban lifestyle, it really centers around the neighborhood, the amenities, the clubhouse, meeting new people in the area, whereas in St. Pete, it's a city. So, you know, you're going to be living the city life, walking around downtown in the Edge District and going to different restaurants and all of that stuff, which you still can get here in Parrish because you're only 20 minutes away from St. Pete. But we just wanted to highlight really the difference between the two so that you can make a good decision when choosing between Parrish and St. Pete.
That being said, we also have a whole nother video on Parrish where we break down things like the CDD and all that. So I'll put a link to that here. So definitely check that out. But again, we put these videos out every week. We would love to hear from you. Our number is again on the screen. If you're looking to relocate to Parrish, whether it be now or in 2 years, we would absolutely love to hear from you. It's us that answers the phone. And yeah, we'll see you next week.